And of course, massive happy new year to you. Um, God damn it, time is going so fast. I don't know if the people who are younger in my audience can relate to it, but as you get older, the years seem to pass by way quicker. And so it feels like 2019 was just yesterday, right? So, man, it's going way too fast. I needed to slow down, but I got an awesome show for you today. There's a lot of stuff to get to. So in just a second, Trump is absolutely fed up with Elon Musk's BS. So we have an interesting report on that. We'll discuss. Then we'll get to Elon fired American workers at a Tesla factory specifically to bring in cheaper H-1B immigrants. So it's just the case, right? It's just true. The idea of like the whole anti-immigration thing and we're going to protect American workers. Elon thinks, well, for me and for the sectors that I'm in, I get to use immigrant workers and others don't get to use immigrant workers. And I will specifically and directly stab American workers in the back. And there's nothing you can do about it. So we'll talk about that as well. Then we'll get to the MAGA Civil War turned dark. We have some left-wingers realizing all along, or excuse me, some right-wingers realizing all along that left-wingers were correct. It's quite an eye-opening moment, an enlightenment moment for some in MAGA. And then later on, we have the South Korean president has been arrested. Their president has been arrested. We'll discuss why that is and see if there's any lessons we might be able to take away from that. So we have all that and more. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. Again, that helps out big time. It costs you absolutely nothing. It really helps push these videos out into the algorithm as much as possible. And remember, guys, I couldn't do this show without you. We're real independent media, not fake independent media. So you guys support this show by signing up on Patreon or tipping with that thanks button on YouTube. I never talk to any advertisers or corporations or billionaires or foreign governments. Very proud of that fact. And you guys made that possible. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. And let's start with the big story of the day. Look at this. This is in Mediaite. Trump is annoyed. Insiders say shadow president Elon Musk starting to irritate Trump. Now, there were already some signs of this before, but apparently it's getting worse, okay? President-elect Trump has shown growing signs of frustration with Elon Musk, his wealthiest and most vocal advisor, sources tell Mediaite. Musk, the world's richest man, has been deeply involved in the White House transition after backing Trump in the election with $150 million and relentless support on X. Sources close to the transition, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to reveal internal conversations, said Trump is growing weary of Musk's omnipresence, as well as the media attention his antics are garnering. So I know most of you already know this, but for those of you who don't know, Trump really is a media whore. Like, all he cares about is getting his name out there, being the center of attention, sucking all of the air out of the room. Like, this is who he is. This is what he does. And now with Elon Musk, in a sense, he sort of dethroned him as the center of attention. Because Elon has been the lightning rod for the past week or two, where he's generating all the conversation. Now, granted, the attention is negative, but Trump, I don't even think Trump cares about, are you giving me negative or positive attention? As long as he's getting the attention, he learned this is like a life hack to get elected. Is as long as they're talking about you, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, right? So I think he's just flat out jealous of that fact. I think he looks at Elon and he thinks, well, now you're trying to be the star of the show, and I don't like that. And by the way, Elon, I mean, look, this guy has problems socially. Let's be kind and say it like that. Where he doesn't understand boundaries. He doesn't understand when he's crossing a line. He doesn't understand if he's too in your face. And so he's literally married at the hip to Trump since the election. He's living at Mar-a-Lago. He's never away from him. He's intruding on phone calls with other world leaders. Yeah, if you're Trump, you're going to be like, hey, dog, back off. Now, at the same time, look, I do think Trump is one of those people who has bought into the myth of Elon Musk. The idea of this guy truly is a mega genius. This guy's truly different and better than the rest of us. He's harder working. He has a higher IQ, etc. He's bought the PR marketing bullshit. And so he might actually, in a very rare instance, he might actually be afraid to totally cut him off, right? Be afraid to really drop the hammer on him. Like,
I hope he's not afraid to do that, man. I hope Elon Musk gets kicked out.
He does with everybody else who crosses him even 1%. So only time will tell on that front. But again, the reporting behind the scenes is that, no, he truly is annoyed with how omnipresent Elon is and all the media attention he's getting. Quote, 100% Trump is annoyed, said one Trump advisor who worked on the 2024 campaign. There's a Chinese saying, 2 tigers cannot live on one mountaintop. Last week, a civil war broke out between 2 factions of Trump's movement after Musk and Vivek expressed their support for foreign workers.
2 tigers cannot live on one mountaintop. That's a nice saying.
For visas, sparking outrage from prominent MAGA voices and immigration hardliners like sloppy Steve Bannon. Several Trump supporters, including conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer, claim Musk stripped them of their verification badges on X in retaliation for their criticism of him. Now, by the way, I don't even think that's up for debate. That's just what happened. This is what Elon Musk does. He is a massively petty, small, insecure, pathetic little weasel man. And he did, as soon as he got criticized, he started axing people, banning them from Twitter. Other people just lost their verification badge and the ability to monetize content on X. That's just what happened. This isn't like an allegation. It's just true. In an expletive-laced X post on Saturday, Musk responded to the backlash. We already went through this. Ready? Quote, the reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. Take a step back and fuck yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. By the way...
Bro, fuck yourself in the face. That's like the most autistic thing you could say. That's so cringy.
I actually think his ketamine addiction is frying his brain. This is not the way for a billionaire who's in charge of a bunch of companies to act publicly. Are you kidding me? Nah, he's losing it, bro. He's losing it. We'll do a story in a little bit with further evidence. He's going through some sort of a mental breakdown. So Bannon fired back, calling Elon Musk a toddler. Within the transition, the civil war that erupted online last week sparked a reminder of the importance of discretion. On Sunday, Susie Wiles, Trump's pick for White House Chief of Staff, sent a transition-wide memo on social media use. In the memo, Wiles forbade members of the incoming administration and transition from making any comments on social media without prior approval from the incoming White House counsel. In other words, hey, Elon, shut the fuck up. Why are you making this MAGA civil war worse? Why are you making Trump's position more difficult, where he has to try to now unify you absolute monkeys? That's what this is. And by the way, Susie Wiles may have been the one to send out the memo, but who do you think was behind the memo? Or at the very least knew the memo was going out and was like, yeah, by all means, send that shit. The big man himself, our big, beefy, wet boy, Donald Trump. Despite his involvement in the transition, Musk does not have a formal role in the incoming administration. Well, he's had a DOGE, the non-government government agency. Alongside Vivek, he will be overseeing DOGE. Chatter that Musk is serving as shadow president of the incoming Trump administration has percolated so much in the last few weeks that Trump addressed the idea at an event earlier in the month. And you guys remember this. We covered it. To me, this was a shot across the bow, right? This was a warning for Elon.
He's not American. He wasn't born here.
Where Trump said, some people are saying he's going to be president. Well, guess what? He can't be president. You know how I know? He wasn't born here. Ha ha. That's what he said. And that really is like, hey, bitch, remember who your daddy is. That's what he was saying. They continue here. There was likely an allure to it in the beginning, but it seemed like it could go ugly. Another Trump insider said of the alliance between Trump and Musk. Trump is Trump. I think it's just the way Trump is. Someone that is around that much and having influence would be a bother. And guys, look, we've pointed this out before too, but imagine, Joe Biden in 2020 when he's parading around the country making his argument, even though he was in his basement because of COVID, but just bear with me. Imagine George Soros was with a Democratic presidential candidate, front and center, on phone calls with them, with other world leaders, directing policy. Like, the right would say this is literally the most corrupt thing I've ever seen in my life, and you should jail both of them, the candidate and George Soros, for ripping the mask off and saying, no, we are just an oligarchy, we're not a democracy. But you flip the script, and it's Elon and Trump and so many on the right. We're totally cool with it until Elon comes out and says, I'm in favor of high-skilled immigrants to come take tech jobs.
Then they don't like it.
Now, if we're talking about, like, picking strawberries or something like that, then ban the immigrants, right? But if it comes to tech jobs for my profits, gimme all the immigrants you got. That's the idea. All right. The Trump insider who worked on the 2024 campaign downplayed Musk's influence. Oh, wait, hold on. I missed this part. This part is pretty important. The guy came in, gave a boatload of money, and wants to take over the place. That's exactly right. But what did you expect from a robber baron, the richest man in the world? Like, this is what he was going to do. You made a deal with the devil. You should have never taken the money in the first place. I mean, they're like shocked that if you act in a corrupt way, corruption follows, right? Well, you know what? They thought Elon would have basic human skills and understand when to take a couple steps back. But he doesn't. He's on the spectrum, and he doesn't understand. He's too stupid to get basic human interaction stuff. All right, more. The insider said, adding they don't think Musk has bad intentions, but you also can't just inject a shadow president somewhere. Yeah, I know the shadow president stuff. President Musk stuff, that definitely got under Trump's skin. The Trump insider who worked on the 2024 campaign downplayed Musk's influence. The media is portraying him as a co-president. Musk is a character actor. There's only one executive producer, one lead in this TV show, and that is Trump. Elon will have his role, his focuses, but he is meant to disrupt the status quo in Washington, and Trump is weaponizing him. It's not disrupting the status quo. When you say, we're going to put this robber baron in charge of shit and he's going to get his way, that is the status quo. That is the status quo of our politics. The robber barons get their way and everybody else gets screwed. And that's exactly what you saw here with this H-1B visa debate, right? The only one to move the MAGA movement is Trump. Elon will be able to amplify the message. The source warned that Musk's enormous wealth and influence will not protect him from being dumped by Trump if the president-elect's frustrations persist. Unless you're family, you're not family, they said. From your lips to God's ears, son. I cannot wait for them to break up. I cannot wait for Elon to cross that last line.
Same.
Because look, we've been saying
waiting.
it. Yeah, this dude's got all the money. Yeah, he's the richest man in the world. But only one of them has an army at his back. In Trump's case, both a literal army, but also the MAGA base army, right? The metaphorical army. And remember, it was Elon's brother who said, yeah, when we came here, we were illegal immigrants. Elon's brother said that about him and Elon. We were illegal immigrants. I know what the MAGA base usually likes to do with illegal immigrants. I'm just saying. I know what they like to do. I know what I would like to see happen with Elon Musk. Every single red cent of government subsidies, of corporate welfare, $20 billion worth that his ass gets, cut it all off. In fact, I would take back the $20 billion. He won't miss it. He's got $430 billion. Take back the $20 billion. He gets no welfare, no corporate welfare, and deport his ass back to South Africa.
Yep.
Right? Fuck him and the horse he rode in on. Because this is the most brazen, oligarchic stuff I've ever seen in my life. Good word.
Deport Elon, yo. Deport him.
Oligarchic. Bad system, good word. So yeah, the breakup is beginning. The breakup is beginning. What I need Trump to do, though, and I don't think Trump is smart enough to get to this point. What I need Trump to do, though, is truly understand that all that PR fluff bullshit, the marketing around Elon, oh, mega genius, he's just better than you and smarter than you, bro. This is what every mega billionaire...
Kitty, look at the kitty, look at the kitty.
They basically buy good press. It happened with Bill Gates.
Aww.
It happened with... what the fuck is his name? Oh, God damn it. Why am I blanking on this? Steve Jobs. There you go. It happens with so many high-profile billionaires is they basically buy themselves this myth status, right? This like superhuman status by paying the media and having them do fluff jobs on them, right? Or manipulating the media. And usually the way you become a billionaire in this system is complete and utter shamelessness. It's not like, oh, you're just the smartest or you're just the hardest working. No, you were the most ruthlessly exploitative. and the most shameless, right? So they manage to get themselves this positive press, and they dupe the public to have peasant brain and think like, no, these people are just special. They're just the hardest working. They just have the highest IQ. Total nonsense. Total nonsense. And what I need Trump to do is break free from that peasant brain, which, to be fair, I don't think he's smart enough to do. But let's assume for a second he is. And the second he realizes that he holds all the cards, yeah, throw this dude under the bus and do it ASAP. I can't wait to see that.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell
MAGA
as well
realizes
for
the
notifications when
left-wingers
videos
were
drop.
right all along.
All right, guys, what you're about to see here can only be described as glorious. Every now and then, there's a moment where some right-winger, some MAGA member, doesn't even recognize it, but they basically admit, like, yeah, the left-wingers were right all along, right? And they're not with it enough mentally to understand that that's what they're doing, is they're admitting the other side was right. But this is just such a beautiful example of it here that, you know, I'm sure if you show this back to Laura Loomer and explain to her, you do realize you just admitted lefties were correct all along, right? I don't even think she could deny it. So let's start with this one. I got a couple clips of hers. Here she is talking to Eric Bolling. Here we go.
Are you surprised we haven't heard from any of these folks in Trump world right now? You know, Steve, these people are on Fox a lot. Stephen's a good friend of mine. Stephen Miller used to come on my show once every week or two or so. But I'm very close. And I text them, and ominously, I haven't heard back. So I'm not sure where they are. Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow for a billionaire.
Look how red this guy is. He's so red, but he drinks a lot.
To make a $200 million donation. And so maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country.
Say it one more time. Say it louder for everybody in the back. Tee-hee-hee. The core of left-wing politics since day one actually is completely true. Tee-hee-hee. Oh, would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? In other words, the core issue is not any of the horse shit that people on the right like to pretend is the core issue. Usually they go to immigration first and foremost, right? Immigrants are the reason your life sucks. You know, immigrants are screwing you over. Trans people are screwing you over. This is the core of right-wing politics in the year 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. In the year 2025, right? But guess what? This is a sly admission. Maybe the actual core of the problem is robber baron billionaires controlling our entire political system and rigging it in favor of them and against you. Huh. You don't say. You don't say. Interesting, Laura.
Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow for a billionaire to make a $200 million donation. And so maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country. I mean, essentially,
yes.
what is happening, and I love President Trump. I'm not saying that President Trump is bought and paid for, but
he is bought and paid for.
Oh my God, I love it. Oh my God, laser it in my brain. Yes, yes. I'm not saying Trump is a sellout. I'm not saying Trump is bought and paid for.
But he is.
Hit me with it one more. But. Hit me with that but one more time. That is the biggest but. I won't make any more jokes, but there are many I could make. Here we go. Let's keep going.
It sounds like people are scared of crossing the king of the world, Elon Musk, the monarch, okay? Nobody wants to cross this guy, the richest man in the world who controls access to social media, the digital town square, and is now basically has everybody in a codependent, abusive relationship like they're a bunch of junkies, because he's been able to monetize the platform so that all the conservatives using his platform are essentially addicted. They're a bunch of addicts now, addicted to social media because their voices were silenced for so long. And it's like cutting a junkie off cold turkey. Okay, you're going to go crazy and you're going to have withdrawals. And he understands now that he's created this codependent junkie versus supplier relationship where if you question or if you try to criticize Elon Musk, you will be demonetized.
Wow. Hey, by the way, Laura and everybody else on the right, where the hell were you when it was the night of the long knives for journalists who were critical of Elon when he bought the platform early on? Where were you to defend Ken Klippenstein when he got banned for sharing the J.D. Vance dossier, which is incredibly analogous to what happened under Jack when the Hunter Biden laptop story, when that was censored? literally completely and utterly 100% analogous. You have Ken Klippenstein release the J.D. Vance dossier. Elon drops the hammer on him. Fucking crickets on the right, or outright support for Elon Musk and what he did. How about when Elon banned the Elon Jet account, which was not doxing because it was all publicly available information. He banned that. And how about when he banned all the journalists who reported on the fight between the Elon Jet account and Elon himself? Where were you then? Where were you then? So when Elon's banning the people you guys don't like, www.shh.com, right? But when oh my God, look, now he's banning Groypers, the Nick Fuentes followers. And is he banning them because they're flat out pro-Nazi? No, they've always been pro-Nazi. That was fine. He would even signal boost some outright Nazi content on Twitter.
Just because they disagree with him. It's like that literal like Rick and Morty meme, bro.
I want to have fun, classic Rick and Morty adventures like in the old days.
Then we'll get along fine, Fascist Morty. For starters, I just need to get to Forbodulon
You
Prime.
will go where I want you to go!
The reason he banned him is because they disagreed with him on the H-1B visas. They crossed him. And Laura lost her verification check. Others on the right, critical of lost their verification check, lost their ability to monetize on X. Well, what do you know? Turns out the lefties were right all along. Turns out the lefties were correct all along, but we're not done yet. We got more Laura Loomer, more admissions that turns out the left is actually right about everything.
And what we need to have a conversation about is what is it going to mean for the future of our country, our national security, and the incoming Trump administration if we have a bunch of technocrats who are also essentially welfare queens because their companies are receiving government subsidies.
God,
and
that's literally what Kyle Kalinske says. That's literally what Kyle Kalinske says all the time, that they're welfare queens.
They want to take over our defense industry.
I'm low-key convinced that a bunch of right-wingers on Twitter, now after seeing Elon burn everybody and burn the country, now they're like plagiarizing the stuff I say, right? Who was the first one to call Elon Musk a welfare queen?
You.
Who was the first one to call him an immigrant, welfare queen, robber baron, and call for his deportation? Who led that charge? I was doing it before it was cool. I was doing it before it was popular. I was doing it and screaming at an angry horde and mob that wanted to behead me for telling the truth. Now all the Johnny-come-latelys are like, you know what? Turns out this guy's a welfare queen. Oh, is he? Is he? If only there was somebody to point it out beforehand and tell you the truth a long time ago. If only, right? If only. God, unbelievable, these people. Just fucking put it in all of your Twitter bios. Just put it. Kyle Kalinske was right about Elon Musk. Just write it. Just admit it. Just admit it.
Welfare queens because their companies are receiving government subsidies and they want to take over our defense industry. If you have a bunch of tech bros with billions of dollars and direct unfettered access to the vice president and the president of the United States, and then they are also, very cordial with our adversaries, as in China and Iran. We see that Elon Musk is having these meetings off the books with Iranian officials, with Chinese officials. What does that mean for us and the future of our constitutional republic?
Okay, hang on.
What does that mean? What does that mean for us and the future of our country? By the way, there have been so many flaming
banks. The Financial Protection Bureau takes your bank away. He debanks you.
Earth regular guy who brings on a billionaire to spew propaganda on a fucking every other weekly basis, right? He brings on this Mark Andreessen guy to lie about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This guy says it's Elizabeth Warren's personal agency that she gets control. No, it's not. She came up with the idea, but it's not her agency. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does exactly what it says in the name. This guy lied and said, oh, they debank people. That is literally the exact opposite of the truth. They protect against debanking. You know what else they do? They've returned $19 billion to Americans who were defrauded by big financial institutions. I know. I'm one of them. I told you guys the story. The fake identity theft protection shit that they sold me. I was paying $10 a month or whatever it was, and was for an extended period of time, and then One day I get a check in the mail from the CFPB, from the federal government, and it's for hundreds of dollars because it turns out there was no identity theft protection. They were committing fraud. They were just lying to nickel and dime me and many other people. This is what we're talking about. So this guy wants to shit on one of the best government agencies that's actually working for the American people. One of the absolute best government agencies looking out for regular average Joes and average Janes in this country who are getting shook down by big financial institutions. He said, we got to eliminate that one. Why does he actually want to eliminate that one? Because he's a con artist. He's a fraudster. He's been involved in all these sketchy things where he makes a shitload of profit and screws people over, just like Vivek Ramaswamy and his fucking Alzheimer's drug that failed 4 different trials, and then he pumped it up like it was going to succeed, and then it didn't, and it was a pump and dump, and he pulled the rug out from underneath him, and he ran out the back door with all the money, just like that asshole. So, would you look at that? It turns out all of these tech bro billionaire douchebags are liars, and all they care about is their bottom line, including Elon Musk, the king among them. Turns out he only cares about his money, his profit, his power, his control. If only that was the most obvious thing in the world from day one. If only there was a number of people, including this one, telling you from day one, hey, beware. Would the right-wingers be cheering if George Soros was parading around with a Democratic presidential candidate and giving speeches with them, talking at the rallies, on phone calls with other world leaders? Would that be cool with the right?
No.
Yeah, let George Soros run our foreign policy and run our domestic policy. Why not? What can go wrong? As a matter of principle, you should be against that. Why? Because these are robber barons. They're robber barons. Go read about the Gilded Age. Learn about it. This is what happens when you have government of, by, and for the wealthy. They keep rigging the rules for them and against you. There's a reason why we haven't had a higher minimum wage. It hasn't increased since fucking like 2007 or something like that. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why they didn't pass the PRO Act. There's a reason why we can't get paid family leave passed, even though it polls at over 80%. There's a reason why we don't do a 4-day work week, even though every study says, hey, workers are just as productive, if not more productive, but they get to work 4 days instead of 5. Understand, guys, they're hoodwinking you. They're bamboozling you. And it took till now for these people to realize it. Why? Why are they now realizing it? Because immigrants are involved. That's why.
That's literally the only
H-1B
reason.
visa debate for them to realize it. But are they going to snap right back into their serf peasant-ass mindset?
Yes.
Is that what they're going to do?
They are.
And will based Elon be a Chad again in a few weeks when he ends up saying something that triggers the libs? You tell me. Because what I've seen to this point, both with Trump and with Elon, is despite any disagreements, eventually they all fucking fall in line. Like the good little peasants they are, with the serf brain that they all possess.
Yup.
Eventually they all fall in line.
Me lord.
They do. You do not see this mirrored on the left.
Oi,
You just
me
don't.
lord.
There was a clip of Rogan the other day talking about Nancy Pelosi and how much money she makes from investments. And saying like, this is brazen corruption, bro. That's true. You know who's made that point 5 trillion times before it ever got to Joe Rogan? Every lefty I know. But you know what else every lefty will admit? That Rogan will never admit. Trump made $160 million from foreign governments while he was president last time. The most brazenly corrupt president we've ever seen. And he hasn't said a fucking peep about that. Because he's okay with corruption and okay with robber barons as long as they're MAGA, as long as they're Republicans. Then it doesn't count. Then there's all these reasons why it's actually okay and it's not what it very plainly is. Will they stand by it? We shall see, but I would not hold my breath.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
Next.
But the nativist or populist right the new year. Hey folks, happy new year, and what a way to start off the new year. I think
A Tesla on fire, a Cybertruck no less. Beautiful.
This is an incredible analogy, or I guess you could say metaphor, to what is going on right now within MAGA, which I'll get to as well. But first, I want to mention, yes, I'm not on screen right now. I've been dealing with an on and off virus for the past week. I can't, one day I'm sick, and the next day I'm getting a little better, then I get worse. So I'm just going to not be on screen at the moment because I have not taken a shower, and I'm not going to subject you to that. But regardless, let's get to the story. So this just happened in the past hour or so. Tesla Cybertruck explodes at the entrance to Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. So I'll just talk over this as this is going on. I gotta say, most vehicles that would do this in this situation, you would think, well, it's clearly planted. Someone did this for whatever reason. With a Tesla, you have to ask yourself, they're kind of known for doing this. I'm going to get to a few examples in a second here. So we can't just outright assume that this was done on purpose because, again, it's happened by accident before. In fact, yesterday is the most recent example. But I do have to think in this situation, considering this is the Trump Tower in Las Vegas, that this was probably done by somebody on purpose. But just an incredible visual there. Now, let me get to, before I get to the connection that this has to MAGA. As I said, this happened yesterday. So I should be clear. Another example of this happened yesterday. So Cybertruck catches fire in at the Cobb County Tesla dealership. So let's look at the date here. So December 31st. This happened literally yesterday.
Shitty ass car, dude. Shitty ass car company and car.
Is somewhere else. So and this has happened before. From August 29th, wet Cybertruck catches fire after hitting fire hydrant. What a headline. Now, you know, this is why I'm saying we don't, things are still, the details are still early. So I don't know if this was done on purpose or not in terms of the one in front of the Trump Tower, but we're going to learn more about that. But that's where we get to the connection here to what is happening with MAGA at the moment. So the H-1B visas. This is a major debate, and you'll see why. So Vox has a good little breakdown of what's going on here. So the GOP coalition has long been split on high-skilled immigration. The party's pro-business faction has supported it, arguing it brings in the best talent and helps American companies succeed and compete globally. But the nativist or populist right opposes it as a plot by cosmopolitan elites to avoid paying American workers. Trump has straddled this divide, often praising H-1B visas, while appointees like Miller work to limit them. Quote, big tech is replacing Americans, Miller tweeted last year. So there is this divide between the business side, the Elon Musk side, the Vivek Ramaswamy side, and the Stephen Miller or the Steve Bannon side that are just outright anti-immigrant regardless of situation. Now, there is a greater issue in terms of a pro-worker issue, or I should say an anti-worker issue with H-1B visas. One of those issues is that H-1B visas and prevailing wage levels. This is from the Economic Policy Institute. Majority of H-1B employers, including major U.S. tech firms, use the program to pay migrant workers well below market wages. So by bringing people in on H-1B visas, claiming that they can't find that talent, within the country, they are able to essentially pay people less. Now, this is still, I want to be clear here that a lot of these jobs are still going to highly skilled employees, so they're still being paid in many cases fairly well, at least based on what they're doing, or I should say because of what they're doing. But the real issue with H-1B visas is that they are tied to your employer. So if you are laid off, you're out of the country. You have 60 days to find another job and hope that that employer wants to and has the ability to apply for H-1B visa for you and keep you in the country. But you have very little autonomy over your own life because of that. So, of course, this is fantastic for employers because they can bring people in, not have to care about what happens to them once they're, laid off. And it both adds the ability for them to save money because they're able to pay that person less, even if it's just a little bit less, but able to pay them less, while at the same time not having to worry about, keeping this employer on if they just need to get rid of them to save some money. So this is the big debate that's going on. You have Elon Musk on the pro H-1B visa side saying the reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. Take a big step back and F yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend.
Like I said, saying F yourself in the face is like so cringy. Why would you say that? Stop it.
So this seems to be the issue he's very passionate, if not the most passionate about in terms of any actual policy issue. He just loves H-1B visas. So again, this benefits tech, large tech companies to a great degree. A lot of them, like places like Amazon, Google, they rely heavily on H-1B visas, at least compared to other large corporations. But on the other side of that, you have Steve Bannon. So here's what he is saying to Elon Musk.
Hey, I've said many times that Elon came and Elon's money helped organize the grassroots effort. In his engineering mind, he saw what the problem was as we saw it, and he supported it. And for that, he gets a place at the table. There's no doubt. You should. It's $250 million in June, not an entire cycle, in 5 months. But that dinner with Sachs and that check from Elon came at Biden's, when Biden, in the debate or right before the debate, and Biden, they kind of saw the numbers where this thing was heading. They're recent converts, and we love converts. Hell, I'm a Catholic. We used to be in the convert business, not so much anymore. We can't keep what we got. But in the old days, half the saints are missionaries. We love converts. But the converts sit in the back and study for years and years and years to make sure you understand the faith and you understand the nuances of the faith and understand how you can internalize the faith. Don't come up and go to the pulpit in your first week here and start lecturing people about the way things are going to be. If you're going to do that, we're going to rip your face off.
Okay, I think that's enough. So he's very clear about his position there. That, hey, Elon, you are a recent convert. Get the hell to the back and learn from people like me. Sit down, shut the hell up, and listen to the Steve Bannons, the Stephen Millers. That said, let's be very clear here. The business community, big tech, these have been major pieces of Donald Trump, of the Republican Party. They rely heavily on massive corporations. So if their interest or if their desire is to maintain H-1B visas, then they are likely going to get what they want, even if it goes against this greater idea of anti-immigration. Let's be clear. We'll get to Trump's position on this in a second because he's been all over the place, of course, but he is still going to be incredibly anti-immigrant. And there are still, there's been reports about plans about mass deportations, and I don't want to get deep in all that right now, but none of that is going away. H-1B visas operate in the minds of someone, let's say, of Elon Musk, and I guess of Trump, operate outside of that plan, of that idea of being anti-immigrant, of being, for mass deportations. For them, H-1B visas are simply a way to bring in workers that these companies need and they want to maintain as, indentured servants. Whereas the people that they want to, demonize, they're still going to demonize those people. But H-1B visas in their minds operate outside of that. So let's get to Trump, so this is from 2020. Trump suspends visas allowing hundreds of thousands of foreigners to work in the U.S. The move is fiercely opposed by business leaders.
I wonder what changed.
Say it will block their ability to recruit critically needed workers from countries overseas. So the excuse at the time was that they were doing this because of COVID, to try and strengthen, the American working class. I'm not sure why that would change outside of COVID. It's not like, things are fantastic for people in terms of jobs and being paid properly when there isn't a pandemic going on. But regardless, essentially at this point, Stephen Miller in 2020 got his way. So let's get the proper date here. So that was June 22nd, 2020. So this is when Stephen Miller got his way, and they were able to at least temporarily suspend H-1B visas. And also part of that plan was an attempt to, pause and sort of work on how the H-1B visa process operated as a way to cut down on H-1B visas. So it was both a pause and attempt to reconform what they actually were to serve the interests of people like Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller. Now, here's Trump yesterday. I believe this is during a New Year's Eve party where there's some music during this. I'm going to see if I can, in post, take out some of the music because it's just annoying to listen to. But here's Trump.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart
What a
people
fucking
coming into
liar,
our country.
bro.
We need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
But sir, you said you changed your position.
He definitely changed the position. It's not just based on what he did during the pandemic, but based on what he has said countless times. So, in case you weren't able to hear that properly and I wasn't able to remove the music, Trump said, "I didn't change my mind. I always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. We need a lot of people coming in." First off, it's an amazing line, considering, he's obviously said the opposite many times. We need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before. Okay, interesting. Ron Flakowski shared this old tweet from Trump. My position on visas. And it goes on to say, Megyn Kelly asked about highly skilled immigration. The H-1B program is neither highly skilled nor immigration. These are temporary foreign workers imported from abroad for the explicit purpose of substituting for American workers at lower pay. I remain totally committed to eliminating rampant, widespread H-1B abuse and ending outrageous practices such as those that occurred at Disney in Florida when Americans were forced to train their foreign replacements. I will end forever the use of the H-1B as a cheap labor program and institute an absolute requirement to hire American workers first for every visa and immigration program. No exceptions. Very clearly a change. And there's also a little clip here put together by, who's this, the Midas Touch Network. So you can see the differences here.
Nobody knows the system better than me. I know the H-1B. I know the H-2B. Nobody knows it better than me. I know the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers.
As we speak, we're finalizing H-1B regulations so that no American worker is replaced ever again. H-1Bs should be used for top, highly paid talent to create American jobs, not as inexpensive labor program to destroy American jobs.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B?
I didn't change.
And we saw that last one again. I don't want to hear that music again. All right. So there you go. Clearly a shift. So you can see why the Tesla on fire in front of Trump Tower in Vegas is quite apt for the beginning of the year.
Oh, shit. Here comes Cenk Uger.
Now, that is, in my opinion, right-wing populists who are actually anti-establishment, actually anti-corruption, actually anti-war. And what I'm trying to tell the left is, take the win!
First of all, Happy New Year to you all. I hope that 2025 is a very good year for all of you. Second of all, apologies for my prolonged absence. I promise that I will be making more content in the year to come. Third, I am back on the website formerly known as Twitter. I actually lost my original account, but I still have the same handle. That is a bit of a story, but one for another time. I would appreciate a follow. My DMs are open if you want to send me something you think I'd be interested in looking at, or if you just want to say hi. In case you haven't heard, during my absence, we here in the United States had a presidential election. On November 7th, Donald Trump decisively defeated Kamala Harris, and will be only the second president in the history of the United States to serve a second non-consecutive term. Some people, to say the least, did not see this coming, producing rather comical electoral maps in the lead up to the election, with Harris winning states like Florida.
Oh, is this a right-wing chud? I don't want a right-wing chud. The scuba thing is weird. We can check out Francesca Fiorentini. Habituation room? She has a dope ass intro song though. Hey. Hey. Hey, hey, hey. Remember to subscribe, y'all.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bitchuation Room, live from an undisclosed cabin in the woods. Super normal. I'm not hiding out in preparation for 2025. You're hiding out in preparation for 2020. No,
Yeah.
I'm here for a small little mini vacation, a little getaway before, the new year, hanging out with family. Took my daughter to see snow today. It wasn't really worth it, but it was cute. It was a long drive to see a little bit of just a wee bit of snow. Yes, some people say I look like I'm in a sauna. If you're listening, I am in a sauna. It's fine. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here. This is New Year's Eve, 2024. Here we are. We've made it. What a year. Not much happened this year, right? A little bit of a letdown. Nothing too. Actually, nothing too out of the ordinary, given the state of things in the United States of America. But look, if you're here, thanks for being here. Thank you for pressing play, for joining me live as you prepare your dips and chips and little cut up celeries and carrots and whatnot that you're doing for tonight, or you're getting all your champagne, or you're getting your Prosecco, or whatever you're getting. Or you're just cuddling with your furry loved ones, like animals, not like furries. Although, did Elon want to be a furry? Did I just see that headline? Every single headline about Elon, you're like, you don't know what is real because it could all possibly be real. But thank you so much for being here. We have a great show with me, myself, and I for the next hour or so, or however long my child stays asleep for, because, of course, it's nap time. So thank you so much. I apologize if the internet in this cabin is shoddy. And I want to also thank so many of the people who have been watching recently and who maybe sent in a super chat during my debate with Cenk on Friday, the 27th now. It was very, very kind of you, and I apologize I couldn't read it in advance. We knew we would go long, so we pre-recorded it by a couple hours. And thanks to everyone who is listening as a podcast and who tuned in and listened to that as a podcast. I want to speak about that debate now that there is calm and I'm not being yelled at. But also wanted to sort of use it as a way to kind of look at the next year. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. The Bitchuation Room streams Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's also a podcast. We have comedians, experts, activists, movement leaders. We talk about radical intersectionalism and revolution and change and the broader fight against the right while building the left. And trying to, include as many people as possible in that fight, from far smarter people than myself, people like Nalini Stamp, who was on from Working Families Party, people like Max Elbaum and Representative Summer Lee. Max Elbaum is a longtime mentor of mine who was an anti-Vietnam War organizer and activist, became part of a Marxist-Leninist cadre of organizers, wrote a book everyone should read called Revolution in the Air. He's kind of my mentor. He comes on periodically, in addition to many people from Convergence magazine, where he contributes to and helps edit. And then Representative Summer Lee and as many I think Representative Bowman, I should get him back on, of course. Cori Bush has been a long time, wish list of mine. So hopefully in the new year, there will be more people like that in office, out of office, but still in this long-term haul as we really bear down the hatches. And so when I say perilous time, I feel like I really need to underscore, and I think for a lot of you who are listening or watching, who are from what are called frontline communities, if you are undocumented, if you have DACA, if you have undocumented people in your family, if you yourself or your parents were asylum seekers, if you are a trans person, if you have a trans child, if you have a uterus and you are a birthing person, no, if you are pregnant, if you are a new parent, you know, I'm reminded time and again of good friend of the show, Nato Green, comedian and labor organizer, who has.
Yeah, I just became a new parent, and you know, I have family members that are like, you know, Spanish heritage and, you know, other countries like Russia, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm fucking worried, man. I'm worried about this fucking Trump piece of shit ass corrupt oligarchy that we're going into, man. It's scary.
So many bits, comedic bits, that are so apropos. You're just like, you know, it's like, why doesn't this ever change? But again, you know, NATO is constantly saying like, oh, I'm not political. What does politics have to do with me? This is his long running bit. You know, I'm not gay. I'm not black. I'm not currently being shot out. I don't drink water. I don't breathe the air. I don't blah, 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 on and on and on. And that's sort of where we're headed. If you live in this country or in other countries, look out Canada. Apparently we're trying to colonize you now. An authoritarian America is absolutely your problem. None of this is not just like hyperbole, and this is like this is not an exercise. This is not a drill. This is not imaginary. This is not the word that I can't think of right now. This is absolutely happening. And I want to talk a bit about the Cenk interview, and I want to just, number one, welcome people who started watching me or just found me or you know, watched it and all that, and that's really, really nice of you. And I'm going to read some comments and super chats later, and I'm also going to thank the patrons at $10 or more, which there are quite a few, and you're going to get treated to the fart song. Oh, don't you worry. So thank you so much in advance for doing that. It really means a lot, and it goes a long way. Let's just name it right off the top. I'm not a full-time employee with TYT. I have a story about that for another time, maybe for the patrons only, maybe for an Ask Me Anything, but I'm not a full-time employee. So when people say you should leave, there's no real leaving. It's just a saying like, no thanks, I don't want to be on the show anymore, right? I don't want to be a guest. And so that's a perfectly fine thing to think that I should do. I definitely don't enjoy as much being on panels with Cenk. As you can see, he, and this is sort of what I wanted to get into, when there is disagreement, there's a lot of like, no. It's very like Trumpian, like wrong. There's not a listening. There's not a give and take often, unless you're Ben Gleib. JK, that's for those who know. But I do get asked, obviously, to be on the Damage Report every Monday. I also get asked to frequently go on Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, who, like I said, I think has really incredible intersectional politics when it comes to racial injustice, when it comes to policing, and when it comes to capitalism. And I think he's someone who understands the intersection of all of those things, as well as he's a black man in the South. And I think that's important. It's important to, as we suffer the consequences of, honestly, a Confederacy that never died in this country, right? The lack of a real Reconstruction that actually gave real equity, to say nothing of reparations and other things that were owed to, you know, Black Americans in this country. I look to people, you know, who are movement leaders, specifically who come out of more of a civil rights background, who are more connected to, you know, the Black community. I think Dr. Ritchie's one of them. I say it all the time, but another big guest, you know, get of mine for 2025 would be obviously Reverend William Barber III. I think he's amazing. He always talks about a third Reconstruction. He talks about poor people's campaigns. You know, he has that class race analysis that we all need if we're going to get through this and not throw one another under the bus or sort of cut deals in order to make certain people feel safe. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about in addition to all of this. And so first of all, also, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I hope you do something fun. I hope you get laid. There, I said it. You were thinking it. I just said it. But I guess overall, I can't go through each comment, but there's been a lot of lovely comments, and I think a couple things stood out to me. One, some people thought that I was restrained, and some people thought I was condescending. And I think the answer is a little bit of both, right? Look, the reality is this was not supposed to be, for me, it was not a gotcha interview. It was supposed to really hear him out, and I wanted to hear him out. I don't feel as though I got a real concrete answer from Cenk as to what he's trying to do and in what parameter, what capacity. Is it a new organization? Is it a new party? Is it trying to gain a new audience? Why make the rounds on these different right-wing shows in a way that feels more glad-handy than it does actually sticking it to them? So that's number one. I don't feel like I got an answer, and I pushed a little bit, but I also, there's only so much you can go and you can get. And in that sense, because it is my show and we have limited time, I wanted to move on. So my feeling is if I'm not going to get an answer, I'm going to let that person speak, and then I'm going to go on to the next, because there's a lot of questions I still have. By the same token, there were moments where I didn't say anything and I didn't push back, and we'll go into some of them. And I think that same thing is there's only so much you can push back in the moment without derailing a conversation. And also there's only so much you can push back without truly getting into a shouting match. And I think at one point I sort of exemplified the shouting match, which I feel like I do sometimes when people lose their cool at me, and I sort of like mirror them back at themselves. They hate that. So I'm not going to say that wasn't like a cunty move. That was definitely a cunty move. But it is important to know that, like, you guys have been there, right? You're in a discussion with someone, the other person shouts. There's only so much you're going to like shout back, right? Otherwise it's not productive. There are people who, said Cenk seemed like petulant, like a bully, very much triggered. I wouldn't disagree with those characterizations, but I also think that's sort of part of how he speaks. I think the question is this productive? And who does he reserve that kind of attitude for? And I think that's really important to know. And I don't think it's across the board, because there are times when Cenk has absolutely got claws out for the right people. So I want to give him credit for that. And I also want to give him credit more broadly on just being willing to talk to me. He didn't know what I was going to ask him, so maybe he was caught off guard. But it's true that I came in there with, I thought, very concrete and very specific questions. What is the establishment? What are you doing? What does right-wing populism mean to you? Are you afraid, or do you think about how this might reflect on other people who work at TYT and the progressive left writ large? I don't feel like I actually got an answer on maybe any of those things. So but again, everyone needs to go back and you can watch for yourself. The other thing I'll say about all this is, if you're commenting or you're like, why are they fighting? What's going on? Like, we need more people together. I agree with you. I'm someone who wants TYT to be a stalwart under a Trump 2.0. I want to contribute to TYT under a Trump 2.0. But it's getting increasingly difficult, again, given the kinds of issues that they are willing to concede on, the grace that is extended to the right that is not extended to the left, and some of the people they are willing to antagonize. I don't know for what purpose. I don't know. I don't want to assume. I'll put it this way. I don't think it's money, and I don't think it's a grift. So that's the other thing. But it is hard, for those of you who haven't seen his interview with Talking Points USA with Charlie Kirk, for those of you who haven't seen his interview with Tim Pool, if you haven't seen his interviews with Patrick Bet-David, watch them. Don't take anyone else's word for them. Just watch them. You tell me, or whomever, or yourself, whether you feel like there was adequate pushback, right? Or whether you feel like it was an opportunity to kind of...
He never pushes back hard enough. Cenk Uygur never pushes hard enough. He's always like fucking flip-flopping with them, being all nice, and then he always shits on the left, like super
make the
hard.
rounds, to kind of make a little bit of glad handing, a little bit of nod and a wink, and whether or not you felt there was more pushback on the rights framework than there was a criticism of the very left and the very progressives that Cenk claims to recognize and represent. So just ask yourself those questions as you watch them. I don't want to put thoughts in your mind, and I totally agree with you. I know that feeling of, man, why can't people just get along? I am absolutely sympathetic to that, and I respect you, and I respect your opinion. And if you say, you know what, Francesca, I don't like that you were, at all, pushing back, and I'm not gonna, fuck with you anymore, that's fine. That's like, seriously, that's up to you. So those are the things, just like off the top, I wanted to talk about. And then the rest, I think I can get into as we look into clips. I heard that he said that maybe I was bad faith. Again, watch the whole interview. There's nothing bad faith about it. Do I have an agenda, which is to understand what's going on? Yes. Did I interrupt? Yeah, I did. Did he interrupt? Yeah. I mean, I'm not as sensitive about the interruptions because I felt like it was productive ultimately, and I feel good about it. Bad faith. Look, I'm not trying to steal audience or audience capture or whatever it is. I'm not trying to, I haven't said that I won't work with TYT anymore. I just haven't said that, Like I said, time and place and who I'm on with and whether I'm asked, that's that. I am not a full-time employee. I do not receive benefits. I have been contributing since 2016, never received benefits. I've had a child. I didn't get paid family leave. That is, that's just the reality. And I think with everything, sometimes, jobs run their course, right? Sometimes work you do runs its course. And there can be a bunch of factors that can contribute to you wanting to move on. So let me just say here now, I'm not trying to start shit, right? Shit's already there. Let's be real. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is shit's already there. And I've actually pulled many, 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 many punches over the last few months. And I have nothing but respect for Cenk, although disagreements with him and disagreements with Anna. And I think they are different people. So I feel like that's really important. Like, these people are different. These are not the same people. Cenk doesn't speak for Anna, nor should he. And Anna doesn't speak for Cenk, nor should she. So I do hope that I can speak with Anna in the future and understand her perspective a little bit more, and maybe, just kind of understand a why, maybe just a why. But yeah, so anyway, thank you so much for listening and whatnot. I just wanted to play a couple things. There were some moments that really stuck out for me, and I will try to get to them as quick as possible. There was a sort of broad, they all kind of meld into one another. But this particular moment hit home because it felt a little bit like a little bit of no turning back moment when Cenk said this to me. And this was sprouted by a conversation where I kind of offhandedly said, that this is not, it is not like, it's not just imaginary, the mass detention, mass deportation. There were signs at the RNC that said mass deportation now. So
Yeah,
you can't
for real.
gaslight anybody into saying that MAGA doesn't want to do mass deportation. That's pretty much the pillar. 2016, the pillar was the wall. 2024, the pillar was mass deportation. So the idea that that's hyperbole or that the left is making it up, whoever the left is, progressives, liberals, anyone,
Yeah,
left
he
of
acts like we're
consensus,
just crazy, out of our mind, like just overreacting.
who knows, that they're making that up is just plain wrong. So this was that moment, and it kind of just led to something that really, really rubbed me the wrong way and still does as I look at it.
I started the largest progressive network. I've given dozens of progressives opportunities they didn't have before. I started Just Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. The minute I disagree like 5% on trans issues or crime, everybody's like, right wing, fascist, right wing, right wing, right wing. Almost every show is saying that. Almost every show. So you telling me that you don't push people out? You're pushing out the movement overall, at least the online left movement, seems to be trying to push out the one network that has helped progressives more than any other network, and it's not in dispute. But my God, we have 5% disagreement. So tear it down, tear it down. This is the destructive extreme left that I honestly, that portion, that kind of destructive attitude.
My man can't take any criticism at all.
I truly don't know who he's talking about, and he's certainly not talking about my show, which I guess he hasn't seen, so that's not something that I do. But again, I do think that a lot of Cenk's, his issues with the left, I think, are much more strawmen than reality. I've had debates with him, and this was sort of a part of something that we talked about on the debate was, or during his interview, my interview with him, was to what extent has there been debate at TYT? Well, Anna and Cenk see pretty eye to eye when it comes to trans issues, in terms of, trans inclusive language being alienating, and in terms of, I think Anna said something recently about bathroom bill. She believes trans people can use the bathroom of their gender, but that when it comes to locker rooms, she's not quite clear. Cenk doesn't believe that trans people should play in sports for their gender higher than high school level, which again, this is parsing very small things, which I really do think these are small things in the grand scheme of, again, an anti-fascist front. They're important, however, and but I've disagreed with him on that, but I never said that he was a fascist. I never said tear it down. I don't know who the people who he's talking about are.
I feel like he's talking about people on Twitter, like crazy Twitter people that are just saying random shit. Both Anna and him are using crazy Twitter people that are like, oh, birthing persons. Oh, they're calling me a Nazi. Out of nowhere to become right wingers. It's so weird.
I can think of I can think of a couple shows, I can think of a couple people, but like I truly don't think that that is a broad majority that like they don't agree on these particular issues. The ergo, the whole thing is rotten. I think there is a need at TYT to hear more diversity of opinion on it. So it's so great that Cenk continually has Zionist Ben Glebe on the show to make the case for genocide every, couple weeks. Would love to see a trans person also on TYT make the case for, trans people being in sports at whatever level. Trans people being in locker rooms, because they're just changing. Just like it's almost like humans, you know what I'm saying? That I think would be awesome to see that diversity. But anyway, the real kicker comes later.
Is poison. It's not just poison to us, it's poison to our chances of winning. Because we keep pushing people out, we keep pushing people out, and then all of a sudden we lost all the swing states and we lost the popular vote. I'm trying to get our side to wake up, snap out of our hypnosis of we hate, and we hate the right wing, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racist, and they're all sexist, and we hate, and we never go in the room.
They're not all sexist, but a lot of them are, though. That's the issue. A lot of them are actual sexist and racist and like white supremacist, and you know what I mean? So like you have to call that part out. You have to call it out, or else like what? Just give up. Don't be in politics.
Hate. What the hell happened to us? And no one's allowed to disagree. We're now authoritarian. No.
Wait, Cenk, can I just clarify?
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian, and this idea of just hating the other side is poison.
You know what's so funny about you calling the left authoritarian is that you think the left has power. Like I love that you.
No, total nonsense.
We are on the precipice of real authoritarianism and real fascism, and you believe that
the left is not authoritarian. That's such a bullshit.
Online left are the authoritarians. I mean, I don't know how to tell you. You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid, and it came out Cenk Uygur. And let me. Okay, that was harsh, obviously, way harsh, Ty. But let's be real. This is the same anti-woke mind virus that has infected so many Gen X, Boomer, comedians, famous people, everyone from James Carville to Nancy Pelosi, who says that, we need to stop talking about, women's rights so much. And it was about the woke, James Carville saying about, it was the woke. That's why Kamala Harris lost, even though she didn't talk about being a woman or a black person or an Indian person ever. It was the woke that lost us this, because she apparently ran a bunch of ads for trans people, which she absolutely did not, and maybe that would have helped, in fact, just to humanize them and to be like, hey, this is not something to be scared about. But so that I cannot parse where the difference between the Bill Maher line and the sort of we need to sacrifice so-called cultural issues in order to win, whether or not you're a corporate Democrat or you are a class reductionist leftist. Like I actually, and I've said this multiple times, if you watch my show, there is actually a lot of similarities between a class reductionist left, meaning ones who are like, screw race, screw gender, screw trans rights, those are niche issues, we shouldn't talk about them. The only qualifier is class. Never mind that the working class is made up of women of color. Let's put that aside. You know what I mean? Like that, and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Bill Mahers and the Jerry Seinfeld, the woke mind virus has gotten to us all, and every uncle that we have who we know is woke mind virus. Like, how is that not the same? I'm still unclear how this is different. So that's why I said what I said. I know it was kind of, harsh. I know it was, maybe, I was trying to get a rise because that's how I felt. Let me just ask you, so what shows on the left do you like that aren't on the TYT network?
Yeah, so I said, look, there's a lot of good popular shows on the left that I like, and it's because there are. So,
and that's because there are.
Breaking Point's a good show. Kyle Kalinski's Secular Talk is a good show. He was against me going on MAGA. I haven't seen his video, but Kyle's been against us a couple of times. But I largely didn't hold.
They don't invite Kyle on.
Grudge on that.
But wait, let me just stop you. First of all, you had a great conversation with Crystal Ball. I think she made some really good points to you on. Everyone should check out Cenk Speaking with Crystal. I thought that was a good conversation, actually, and I thought Crystal was not as forceful as I was, but really made space for Cenk to make his case. And I'm not sure he made it. I think it was on Breaking Points. Kyle has, I think, been very disturbed, especially by your appearance with Charlie Kirk. But what you just said there, they've been against us. I really want to just dig into this idea that, because you're a fighter, man. That's cool. That's great. But like, you really do have a very, I almost want to call it Bush-like, Cheney-like, you're with us or against us attitude.
100% wrong.
Or Trumpian, right? It's very, like, I say with us or against us because that was the war on terror sort of mantra, right? Either you're with us or against us. But in terms of like they were against us, that's why I asked him who us was and who he speaks for when he goes on these shows and he says we've always. I think it's himself and Anna, but I again wouldn't pretend to know. I don't think I even got a clear answer of who he meant by us. Certainly is not speaking on my behalf. I'm not sure if he thinks he is. I don't know. But so that's why I asked that. So then when he said against us, I was like, not only is this emblematic of a really antagonistic attitude towards other progressive left shows, but it also it's just like it's also like sort of vague, like who is us, right? And in terms of against us, like it sounds very Trumpian. It's like, well, he once criticized me. They were against us. But you know, it's like the royal us, right? They were against us, but then now they changed their ways. And it feels like, so is our movement, is our broader project of small d democracy, of, you know, getting corporations out of our political system, is that project based on who was critical of you and who wasn't critical of you and who was so-called against you and who wasn't against you? Because I'm pretty sure that even all the people who you think are against you are actually still in the bag for the project of getting corporate power out of politics and are still in the bag for transforming this democracy and getting rid of the electoral college, you know, all kinds of things, right, that they're still in the bag for. And so that's why I sort of highlighted that, because it's just, in terms of language, it really does matter how we speak about these things. But like you just literally, I love that you're proving my point. But
No,
when
I'm
I
not.
say
You're
this,
proving my point.
you
Okay,
truly
so let me explain.
you sound like people are either against you, but if they
No.
criticize you, they are not.
I misspoke
and
here,
yet,
but-
here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
Yes,
with,
I do.
You want to have a
All you
beer with
wanna do is
people
hate
who
them.
want to
How does that work out for us, Franny?
who
How
want
does
to
the
put
hate work
people
out
in
for us?
mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You
the
think
same
we're
with
going to get put in camps? You sound all right. Anyway,
you think we're going to get put in? I mean, this is another beautiful, you know, I feel like Chomsky, you know, are we going to get put in camps? And he's shaking his head and he's like, basically he's about to say like, you're insane, you're crazy. And he says we, and I think he's very much talking about like you and me, Cenk Uygur and Francesca Fiorentini. We're probably not going to get put in camps. We're not asylum seekers. We don't live in a mixed status family. They're not people undocumented in our family. We've been here for a couple generations. We're likely safe. There's no, like, and that, I think we also all need to sort of like have, as you guys go forward, as you listen and watch different pundits and you listen to people, just have a little bit of an antenna out for.
Yeah, Cenk has like we're one of the good ones. We're the good Turks. They're not gonna kick us out because he's wealthy. He's a wealthy fucking asshole.
Whether these pundits are actually people who represent the communities that will absolutely be affected and impacted and mistreated. And yes, those communities are people too. They are full human beings. They just don't stream on New Year's Eve from a undisclosed cabin in the woods. You know what I'm saying? So I resent being implicated in, although I understand, but I resent being implicated in the sort of privileged box that he thinks that we are personally insulated from, ergo it must be crazy to say that these things are happening. That really rubbed me the wrong way. And so I pulled out, you know, I talked about the Chinese community, right? And my family's been here for generations. My mom has been a citizen since she was 10 years old. So, like, I'm not worried about my immediate family, but I did want to bring up some articles for the reason that I said that after I show you the rest of this exchange. Sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you talking about?
That's such an excuse. Okay, they're going to start with Muslims. They're going to start with my people. Okay, if they start at all.
Yeah,
so just stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities.
Dog, they ain't gonna start with Turks. I can tell you that. They're gonna start with fucking Mexicans, Spanish people. Then everyone else is gonna start getting it, and trans people.
I'm standing in front of vulnerable communities. Cenk, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered friend.
By tweeting at Elon Musk? Please don't help me. Okay, so that was the exchange. Look, it was very. I really hate Oppression Olympics, and so the fact that his response was no, it's going to be Muslims that are front and center. Like, maybe I set myself up for that by saying, like, we're talking about my family. It was my way of trying to humanize all of this. But then he immediately wanted to get into no, it's going to be me. And I'm just like, that is so unhelpful and ridiculous. And so I hate that. I hate when to prove that like as a way to say we are blowing the mass deportations out of proportion, he immediately recenters himself. And I just feel like that's kind of pathetic, and it's bad politics, right? It's a number of things, but it is mostly and primarily bad politics. And so I wanted to, if I can share the screen, but now Google Chrome would like to do something that, damn it. Balls. I'm on Matt's computer, so I can't bring this up immediately. Fuck me. All right, well, I'm just gonna... NBC News, I'm just going to read this to y'all, pretend you're listening to a podcast, and pretend that this is actually on screen. Trump could deport, this is November 15th of this year. As sources say, could deport undocumented Chinese. First, Asian American groups rush to prep. Asian American organizations say they're scrambling, but not completely surprised over President-elect Donald Trump's campaign promise of mass deportations. Undocumented immigrants from China who are deemed to be of military age will be among the first groups targeted for deportation by the incoming Trump administration. Sources close to the campaign previously told NBC News, citing the potential risks to national security. You know, because they've got the Wuhan flu.
Why would you send them back to China and give China more soldiers?
Asian Americans have long had the fastest growing undocumented population, tripling over a 15-year period from 2000 to 2015. The number of Chinese nationals crossing into the U.S. has skyrocketed in recent years. Between 2022 and 2024, the number of undocumented Chinese nationals crossing both the northern and southern border has tripled from just more than 27,000 to more than 78,000. So, a lot of people. That's a lot of people. So I wasn't making that up. I'm not bringing it because I am Chinese. That is not why I brought it up. For those of you who are like, wait a minute, what? I thought you were also Italian. What am I gonna? Yeah, I'm Kamala Harris. Okay, we can be two things. We contain multitudes. Don't pretend like you just fell out of the coconut tree. So that's why I said that. And he's just like, no. And then that last part, let's just run it back. Beer.
Yes, I do.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You think we're going to get put in camps? You sound all right. Anyway,
you think I sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you talking about?
That's such an excuse. Okay, they're going to start with Muslims. They're going to start with my people. Okay,
Sure.
Yeah. So stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities.
Yes, you are. You're using them as human shields.
In front. You're using.
Oh my
so
God.
I didn't even hear
What
the
the
human
hell?
shields line, guys.
You're using them as human shields.
As human shields.
Oh my God.
So now Cenk is engaging in straight up Hasbara talking points. Is that what we're doing? We said he spent a year speaking about how ridiculous the line human shields is, and now he's using it. That's just, let's just say, like, sort of rhetorically, that's insane. But then to say you're hiding behind vulnerable community, like, if he doesn't think I'm vulnerable, which, okay, let's concede that I'm not, running a YouTube channel, speaking.
Yo, Cenk is a dick. What an asshole. How dare you let that shit slide? Like, slip out of your mouth.
Constantly about the far right, going on Piers Morgan and having them say that they're going to sue me for defamation if I say any more, getting trolled incessantly by those people. Okay, let's put that aside, because that could all weaponize very quickly overnight. But you're right, I am not vulnerable on the front lines of this fight. But, like, then why would I hide behind them? What's the point? Why would I need them as human shields? For what? For my millions of patrons? Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. No, what for my shitty politics? For me, like, being friendly with Nancy Pelosi? Like, I don't understand why I would be hiding. And I just had never heard someone say you're hiding behind vulnerable communities, which is why I said I'm standing in front of them. And to be honest with you, I have been. And that is what I hope to do. And if I can sort of make folks understand that immigrants, trans people, women are not their enemies, don't want to take what's theirs, Black people, that equality doesn't mean you have less. It means we all have, like, we are all abundant and we all thrive, that things like guarantees to housing and education are incredibly important, that I don't even want to keep, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, that is what I'm trying to do. And even though I'm not in the struggle, like I'm not an organizer, although I think 2025 is going to change that, and I think everyone needs to be looking at which organizations they want to get involved in, campaign-wise, locally, and whatnot. And that's going to be my final thought as well. I've always, since my organizing days back in the early 2000s, against, globalization, against corporate power, against the Iraq War, against the Afghanistan War, against the Patriot Act and the roundup of Muslim Americans at that time and the surveillance of them. All of the ways that I have been involved, and then I pivoted to, alternative left media as a way to highlight some of these incredible frontline struggles from the Middle East to Latin America. You can look at my background from Left Turn magazine to Win magazine with the War Resisters League, where I used to work in New York. On and on and on to my independent journalism, reporting from Latin America, then to my work with AJ Plus. I don't really know what to tell him. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not trying to toot my own horn. The people who do this far more amazingly and importantly than I do, I try to platform. So why doesn't he? It's just like, I don't think you should, we all have our breaking points. But if I had a breaking point with Cenk, that might have been it. And then there was a broader conversation about populism and anti-establishment, because Cenk says, and I'm trying to get this right, he is a centrist when it comes to left-right. Like, he's not extreme left, but he is an extreme populist.
Oh, he's just a capitalist Democrat.
That's what he says. And I'm just trying to do the math in my head, do the lady, thinking about the math equation, because it wasn't clear to me. It still is not clear to me what the hell that is ideologically or politically. So that's why I asked him a lot about what right-wing populism is to him, and specifically what the establishment is to his and it means to him. And I asked him about recess appointments that Mitch McConnell is against, because he was saying the establishment is Mitch McConnell. And so I just want to watch that a little bit. I may crash out on this, but I want to watch that.
Anti-corporate. You see Steve Bannon.
So this is him basically saying that Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, and others have picked up the mantle of populism and anti-corporate, anti-war. And he's sort of celebrating that, even though he says he doesn't obviously agree with them on cultural issues, some of the anti-Semitism or the anti-black racism and whatnot. But I want to just pick that up a little bit about Bannon and Tucker Carlson being populists and saying all the right things. And again, I'm reminded of Max Elbaum, who is one of my mentors, who I've always, I've had on the show, and I've said, what do you say to Marjorie Greene, being against endless war, or Tulsi Gabbard using this endless war, we need to end endless wars, even though, again, these are Islamophobes, these are, Hindu nationalists, whatever, they are racist, whatnot, but they have this one thing, this language. And Max was telling me, and I it's like, look, remember that anti-war isolationism has always run through nativist thinking in this country and around the world when it comes to actual right-wing populism, right? That directing money inward, pointing the guns at the black people or the women or the organizers and the Palestine protesters, rather than sending money to fight, Ukraine's war, or rather than sending money. Of course, they do not reserve this for Israel. Those are issues that in broad cultural, sort of broadly accepted, just kind of where everyone's at politically, even low information voters and whatnot, everyone is sick of foreign wars and the U.S. trying to do regime change for whatever reason, right? But especially we're going to bring democracy. They're sick of the Bush stuff, and they're sick of foreign wars, certainly, of course, of having their communities and people they know being sent abroad to only come back with, PTSD and whatnot. And they understand corporate rule and corporate power, and they're sick of things costing more. They're sick of not being able to have a good paying job. Of Walmart relying on food stamps and welfare in order to support its own employees instead of them doing. Those are the things. Now, what did we talk about when I said talked about movements? These are two issues that throughout the late 90s and the early 2000s social movements are responsible for changing what? The Overton window of what is acceptable to criticize on.
Ooh, yeah, the Overton window. I like that word.
These issues. Now, reality also helped. The Iraq War going horribly helped. Corporate power not actually delivering for anybody also helped, not giving people higher wages, not leading to people being able to buy homes and whatnot. So reality helped. But when it comes to our role on the left, social movements were absolutely pivotal in that. And so while Cenk is celebrating that the likes of Tucker Carlson or even Charlie Kirk or, some of these unsavory white nationalists are anti-war and anti-corporate power, even though they support Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and somehow, Cenk is able to say, okay, but some of them can be peeled off and eventually, I don't know what the strategy is. It's important to know that it was only because of social movements that we have been able to get to that grand consensus that stretches across the aisle. And no thanks to centrist Democrats, and I've said this on my show a million times, about how much it pisses me off that centrist Democrats allowed the anti-war lane to be left open for right-wingers, for right-wing fascists, for isolationist nativists to take up that lane, to take up that mantle. Because the corporate Democrats are too afraid of going against the military-industrial complex, right? And of course, the right is not, they're disingenuous about that, right? They're not serious about it, but in rhetoric, they have. When the anti-war movement is the reason we had Barack Obama. Why? Well, he was the one who was saying he was going to end the Iraq War. Remember that? That was a huge factor. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton voted for the war, didn't say she was going to get out of Iraq. That was the big wedge issue at the time. And the reason the Overton window shifted was because of mass movements. It is the only thing that works, is the only thing that will work, is mass movements and mass pressure and campaigning. So why now would it be any different when it comes to the issues that Cenk likes to talk about a lot? Crime, trans rights. Why would we suddenly, Black Lives Matter, defund, why would we suddenly say, let's shift to the right, let's move to their middle, and let's just be completely 100% about this country in the last 20 years. This country has shifted to the right enormously, so that if it's a fucking a tablecloth, if there is a tablecloth and our country is the table, the political spectrum is such that the tablecloth is on the floor.
That shit's off.
And all the dishes have been broken. They're on the ground. The food is there on the ground. That's how far to the right this entire country has shifted. And because of organizations like the Federalist Society, Heritage Foundation, because of people like Leonard Leo, who have been grooming Supreme Court justices and other right-wing plants, because of people like Harlan Crow, because of people because of these
corruption,
billionaire, because of the Koch brothers, because of Alec, because of all of the ways that they have laid the groundwork for a right-wing takeover of this country, to the point where they've obliterated Roe v. Wade.
Yep.
They've taken away a basic civil right from more than half the country. That's how much they've won. So when we talk about meeting them on certain issues or being able to, we really need to understand just how far to the right this country has gone. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you capitulate? Does that mean you go meet them where they're at, which is on the ground with all the food that's falling on the floor because this fucking tablecloth won't stay on, in my horribly belabored analogy? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. But it's very interesting, and I tried to get him to sort of understand that when he's anti-establishment, there's some good things about the establishment. One of those is that a president has to get their appointments through the Senate, right? And that is a minimal check, a minimal balance, co-branches of government and whatnot, trying to get power out of the executive. So my question was, Mitch McConnell is saying, hey, Trump can't use recess appointments, which are when the Senate basically is like, we're gonna go take lunch and you can just put in whomever you want, which Trump is demanding that there be recess appointments and that they don't even, even though the Republicans have the Senate, that they don't even go through that formality in order to confirm some of his appointees. So my question was, Mitch McConnell is against that. Mitch McConnell's like, no, we still gotta go through the Senate. Like, He still wants to do that one thing because he knows it's basically going to be just like a, it's all just a dog and pony show. It's basically going to be a rubber stamped operation, but he wants to go through with it. So that's establishment. That's a norm. Are we for that or are we against that? And Cenk didn't have a very clear answer.
Should increase corporate taxes. That doesn't mean Steve Bannon's an angel, but what it does mean, or anywhere near it, but what it does mean is that idea of populism and anti-establishment, etc., is spreading throughout the right wing. That is an amazing opportunity for us to actually coalesce on economic populism that they now believe in, even if their leader doesn't, right? So that's point one, and it's super important.
So he's saying he says they're not an angel, Bannon and Carlson, but we can use that to come together and find common ground, even if their leader is not a populist. It's like, there's just a lot happening there.
Bro.
Two is, in some ways, that individual corruption is worse, and in some ways it's better. So how is it worse? So Miriam Adelson gives, 130.
So here we're talking about, like, is it better to be paid, by like $750 million by just a couple of people than be paid $750 million by like 15, 20 people? So I got ahead of myself a little bit, but let's watch this.
$7 million to Trump, and Sheldon Adelson had given him $200 million in previous campaigns. So he delivers foreign policy to the Adelson family, right?
Right.
Moved our embassy in his first term. Now he's thinking about allowing the annexation of northern Gaza and the West Bank. And you saw me fight tooth and nail against Trump because that's what I was really, really worried about, that he's going to go and be extreme and radical to serve his top donors. On Elon, he handed all of domestic policy to him. So that's how it's worse. How in the world could it be at the same time a little bit better? Well, the way that it's better is that it's not a machine. It's chaotic. So it's one guy here and another person there, but the other person disagrees with Miriam. And then Trump doesn't quite know what to do, and he listens to the last person in the room, but he also kind of listens to his base. We've got chaos there, and chaos is way better than a machine.
Okay, this is where I truly disagree with him. I wasn't able to articulate just how much I disagree with this, but chaos is way better than a machine.
What does that even mean?
I just really beg to differ. Like, I'm like, if you're gonna do fascism, here's a more concrete example. Child separation was never the point of Donald Trump's asylum, like his asylum policies at the border. Meaning, when Stephen Miller, finally enacted his little plan that he'd been, scrawling in his blanket fort, it wasn't like, and then we're going to take the children and we're going to separate them from their families and we're going to ship them somewhere else, and then they're probably never going to see their parents again. They won't be able to reconnect with them. It's going to be really difficult. That wasn't a feature of it, right? It was the bug, and the bug can become a feature. And that chaos, I don't think, especially without a coherent left, or which we don't have, and I think Cenk and I might disagree with the idea that we even have a coherent left or like a real third-party option, or we have fits and starts of amazing social movements. We have communities like this, etc. But we've got great grassroots organizations, but without a demand, without a concrete, how are we supposed to wield this chaos? We're going to be on the receiving end of this chaos. I don't think it's a good thing that, okay, we can exploit the chaos. I mean, this is the same thing that people thought about Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
Well, he's more of an unknown.
Anyways, Cenk is just cooked. I don't know if I'm going to finish the stream. I'm going to log off and relax at work tomorrow. But yeah, guys, thank you so much to the Habituation Room with Francesca Fiorentini. I'm not going to finish the whole stream, but you guys can come check it out yourself. She breaks down the debate with Cenk, or you can watch the stream with the debate. Either way, that's that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
In the land of the tyrant, where the sun never sets, we march to the beat of oppression's drums. With a powerful ally, our ruling fist is clenched. We'll trample over the weak. Our kingdom will never crumble. From the blood so